Welcome to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz. Thanks for joining us again. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving holiday. I know I did. We got a real special show for you tonight. We got a treat. We've got in the house, Benny the Book is back, ladies and gentlemen. He'll be joining us through the entire show. And our special guest for this evening, former Florida A&M great quarterback, Al Chester Sr., his son also played QB for the Rattlers, but we certainly we want to make sure that everyone knows it's Al Chester Sr., the guy who quarterbacked a national championship team back in 1978. We'll talk a little bit about that. So tonight's show, we have a live chat going on, so hopefully whoever's logging in and joining us tonight, please ask questions of Al, myself, Benny. We'll answer them throughout the show. Our amazing chat girl, Joni, is back on location, and she'll be asking those questions. We'll be answering them. Also, you can find our show on Spotify and Google Podcasts, and please hit that subscribe button. We're gaining subscribers every day. We're hitting a record. If we can get a couple more, we can eclipse our all-time record. So obviously, it's huge for us. Comment. Let us know how you like the show. You tell us what direction you want the show to go. That's the direction I'm going to go in. So, without further ado, let's bring on Benny the Book and our special guest, Al Chester Sr. Hey, guys.
Hey, Les. How you
Hi,
doing?
Les. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Benny, thanks for being back with us. And Al, great pleasure to have you on the show. We have to thank our mutual friend, Vince Coleman, for getting you on here tonight.
Well, I tell you what, Vince is a special friend, always has been, a tremendous athlete. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited about a great show.
All right. Well, a special shout out to Vince. Hope he's watching in San Diego. So I want to get right to it. Where you grew up in the Jacksonville area, Jacksonville, Florida. When you were a kid growing up, before you got into organized ball in high school and things, you're 8, 9, 10 years old. You're playing with your buddies in the backyard, or you're going to the local high school field. Who did you like? What kind of game did you emulate? Did you pattern your game after a specific player? Were you always a quarterback? Did you always want to play quarterback?
Well, I tell you what, I was always a big Bob Hayes fan, and because he was from Jacksonville and the fastest guy in the world.
Bullet Bob Hayes?
Lived right around the corner. Yeah, he lived right around the corner from me. So, I mean, if I played receiver, I wanted to be Bob Hayes. But I had several guys that I watched play quarterback, to include Elridge Dickey from Tennessee State, Joe Gilliam from Tennessee State, Condridge Holloway, who played at Tennessee, Eddie Mashan, who played at Georgia Tech, and Shaq Harris at Grambling. And then in my neck of the woods, there were two guys that I admired, Don Gaffney, who played at the University of Florida, and Terry LeCount, who played at the University of Florida. So, I mean, I had an array of guys that I patterned my game after and tried to take a little bit of what they did and try to fine-tune my game as I progressed in my little quarterback history.
You named some amazing players, and I know that we had spoken earlier. You said in your neck of the woods you also had amazing players that went on to the pros and had amazing success, such as Harold Carmichael, the 6'8" giant who played with the Eagles. I think he's a Hall of Famer now. You had Kenny Burrow, 00, played with the Houston Oilers, I believe. So you had some great players in that area.
Hey, we had a chance to work out with those guys. They would come home during the off season. Ken Riley, who's not from Jacksonville, he's actually from Bartow. He would come home during the off season, and a lot of myself and a lot of young guys would go out, work out with those guys: Carmichael, Randy Allen, David Thomas, Terry LeCount, the Gaffney brothers, and you learned a lot by just rubbing shoulders with those guys. I got a chance to throw a post route to Harold Carmichael as a 7th grader. And man, that was off the chart for me. I mean, because we watched him play on TV, and of course, Ken Riley was a defensive back. I got a chance to run patterns against him and learn a lot. And they were all gracious guys and was willing to help all the young guys in Jacksonville. And as you know, we've had a boatload of guys come out of Jacksonville who've done tremendous things on the football field and baseball field around the country.
Now, you get into high school, obviously, you have tremendous success. In the recruiting process, was Florida A&M, and you've noticed here we got the Florida A&M Rattlers. We got it hanging here proudly. I would go for the helmet, but I didn't get it in time. I got one coming though. Was Florida A&M your number one school, your only school? Were you being recruited by any other schools? And was quarterback the position that you were being recruited as, or were you And we'll get into the history of the black quarterback, especially in the South, and in some of the obstacles you might have faced. But who recruited you, and why ultimately did you end up with the Rattlers?
Well, I tell you what, the University of Tulane actually showed a lot of interest. I went out to New Orleans on a visit, and the University of Iowa, they both wanted me to play quarterback, or they were recruiting me as a quarterback. But I wanted to be a big fish in a little pond, and there were so many friends and family and alumni from Florida A&M right there in the Jacksonville area. And I tell you what, I rode up to Tallahassee in the back seat of a Riviera, driven by Dr. Solomon Badger. He was the guy that took me up there. And I tell you, when I went up there, I fell in love with the place. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was at home. And Coach Rudy Hubbard was the head football coach at the time. And Alan Bogan, who was the offensive coordinator, he actually recruited the Jacksonville area. So it was just a matter of time of, I didn't want to get too far away from home. I wanted my parents and family and friends to see me play. And it just seemed it was the perfect fit. Sometimes you can get caught up in the bright lights, but I wanted to be close to home so my folks and my family and friends could see me play.
Benny, why in the world did West Virginia not go after Al Chester?
Oh, I don't know. They weren't that very.
You got to speak up. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
There
we go.
I don't know. They probably weren't that good. He was too much of a talent. So.
Believe it or not, I think when Al came in, I'm trying to think. I think Bowden had just went to Florida State. That's interesting. So, did you get any interest at all from any of the big schools in Florida, Al? Obviously, Coach Bowden, like I said, had gone to Florida State. Miami was starting to turn things around a little bit. Any interest at all from some of those schools at all?
Well, at the time, I mean, Don Gaffney was at Florida. He was getting ready to leave. Mm-hmm. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And of course, Terry LeCount was down there. So they had some quarterback action there. I did get correspondence from all the schools in Florida, to include Florida State. Bobby Bowden didn't come in until the year after my freshman year. But University of Miami got, of course, a boatload of letters. But again, wanted to be that big fish in a little pond. And I thought my best opportunity would be at Florida A&M. And if I had to do it all over again, Les, I'd do it the same way.
Well, you had a tremendous career, and we're really going to focus on really the last 2 years at A&M, which were unbelievable. I mean, Ben and I were talking about it last night, 21-1 in 2 years. The lone loss to Tennessee State, which was a team that was stacked, and, they had future pros on that team. But to go 21-1, won a black national championship and then followed by a 1AA. And let's talk about that. So you go undefeated your junior year. Who do you beat in the black national championship that year? Who do you win it from?
Well, actually, that's voted on for the most part in 77. We were the only undefeated team in the country. So we didn't actually play a championship game. We ran the table, went undefeated, and we only had about 3 seniors on that ball club. We were coming off a 6-3-2 year, my sophomore year, but we had a bunch of guys, and I tell you, I had some great teammates. We weren't a real big team, not super fast, a finesse team that believed in what Coach Hubbard was selling. And we bought it and had tremendous success with it. But in 77, we went undefeated, ran the table, and lost 3 guys as we got ready to roll back into that 78 football season.
And that 78 season, I actually remember watching that championship game. And I think it was I know we talked about it. It was the temperatures were freezing cold. It was that out somewhere in East Texas or some crazy place? Where was that game?
It was in the Pioneer Bowl in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Wichita Falls, Texas.
And I tell you what, the previous game against Jackson State, which was the semifinal game, it was cold, snowy type weather. We got out of that game and won that game 15-10, but we go out to Wichita Falls, the wind was blowing. What I remember, the folks were very hospitable. The countryside over there is real flat, but it was cold and very windy. Our punter punted the ball and went back over his head.
Whoa.
It was some challenges, man, I tell you, and played a great football team, and we were fortunate to come out of there with the victory. And I still say that the championship game was the Jackson State game, and we played University of Massachusetts in better weather. It's easy to say that. I think the outcome would have been the same. It may have been just a few points more.
I was going to say, I think speed wise, you guys had it all over the UMass Minutemen, and I have some UMass alum watching this game, so they might remember that game. But it seemed like watching that game every time they kind of got close, you guys pulled away a little bit, and I know they scored late to make it look like it was closer than it was. But I agree with you. If the weather was good, the footing was better, I think you guys beat them by 3 touchdowns.
And actually, I think that was the first game that we had played on turf as well. So I mean, there was some obstacles there, but great football teams find a way to win. And we believed in what we were doing. We didn't feel like we would beat you. It was just a matter of how bad we were going to beat you. We felt good about who we were, played with a lot of confidence, borderline cocky, if you will. But I tell you what, we had great players, great coaches. Salute Coach Hubbard and the staff. And I tell you what, it's ironic we're talking about this because 45 years ago was when we won that national championship. That's a lifetime, and a lot of my teammates have passed on. But I tell you what, I feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity. And again, I'll say it again, if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it the same way.
And the amazing thing about that, Al, it's been 45 years. You're still, to date, the only HBCU school to win a national championship on the field in football. It's never been done. You guys were the only team to do it. And I hope, and I'll talk about this later on, that you guys will be recognized for that accomplishment. So great career at Florida A&M. You guys win, the inaugural 1AA national championship. You beat UMass. Now you're getting ready and maybe looking at the pros. So you're a senior. What's the talk like? Are you getting looked at right after school, or are you getting courted by any pro teams? What teams came into work you and some of your teammates out between then and the draft?
Yeah, well, back then they didn't have the modern day combine like they have now. The teams would come in and work you out, get your measurables, and do all the things that you do. But the Cleveland Browns actually showed the most interest in me. They already had Brian Sight. The backup quarterback was a guy named David Mays. He actually played at Tennessee State. I'm sorry, Texas Southern. He was a dentist and a great competitor. And I felt like they were going to give me some play. I really did. They took me to dinner. And then, of course, the night before the draft, I got calls from about 15 teams. And, of course, they want to know where you're going to be. Give me a telephone number, et cetera. I was actually interning in the public defender's office at the time, and they were gracious enough to give me the days off in hopes that I would get that phone call. Phone call never came. Jet Magazine did a story because they too felt like we had earned the opportunity, earned the shot based on what we've done. And you and I have talked offline. How do you measure the success of a quarterback? Do you measure it by wins and losses? Do you measure it by the number of touchdown passes that he throws? Do you number by the number of yards that he passed for? What's actually the measurable? And every year, the straw man for the NFL during that time, it changed. They were looking for the big 6'5" quarterback. Of course, I'm not 6'5", but we've won football games, and that's what I thought it was all about. And when you do everything you have to do, at least you feel like in your heart, you've done everything you can, and you feel like you earn and deserved an opportunity, and it doesn't come. It sets you back a little bit. And it was real challenging. I think that may have been the most hurt I've been in my life because I thought I'd done everything right, but it didn't materialize, and I ended up going to Canada for a couple of years and end up meeting some great guys, locker mates with Terry Metcalf up there in Toronto. Played against and saw Warren Moon and Tom Clements and Joe Barnes. All these guys played quarterback. Condris Holloway was up there at the time, but had a great time, man. And again, I still say if I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way. But the opportunity for black quarterbacks just wasn't open at that time. Doug had just gone into the league the year before. In fact, when we played Grambling in '78, his brother was quarterback. He was on the sideline because he had broke his jaw as a rookie with the Buccaneers, but I tell you what, it was a challenging time, and disappointing time. But hey, tough times don't last. Tough people do. And you don't value a moment until it becomes a memory. And And so when I look back over everything, again, I keep saying this: if I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way.
Well, when you went to CFL, you played against one of Benny's heroes, Tom Clemens. Wasn't he a
Tom
Notre Dame
Clements,
guy,
yeah.
Ben?
Yes, he was a Notre Dame guy. Very good quarterback at Notre Dame, and that was a surprise that he wasn't picked by any pro teams to go. But hey, Warren Moon, that's an unbelievable story, because he was great at Washington. How the pros wouldn't suck him right up, or and put him in a spot. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Well,
Yeah.
To your point, Benny, right? And Al, I mean, I have to bring race into this because at the time, I mean, there was certainly a racial bias against the position of quarterback for a black athlete. I mean, there has to be. I mean, Warren Moon did everything in Washington. He was not a running quarterback, which a lot of people said, well, he ran a veer. He ran the option. We don't run that in the pros. He basically quarterbacked a pro-style offense, a pro-set offense. 2 wide receivers, a tight end, split backs in Washington. 2 years, ultra successful, wins a Rose Bowl MVP, team MVP, all Pac-8 at the time. They were all Pac-8. How in the world does this guy not get a shot?
Hey, it's unbelievable, man, when you think about and he's a big guy. Warren stands about 6'3", 6'4". So I mean, he was the prototype.
Right. Yeah.
I mentioned Jet Magazine. They did a story after the draft on myself and Phil Simms. And again, not hating on Phil Simms. He went to Morehead State. They won 2 games his senior year. We won the national championship, and Phil was the #1 draft pick. Went on and had a great, stellar career.
Right.
And but you're right. I mean, the times were different then. I mean, the challenges were different. I like to feel like we passed some of that. I mean, when you look at the league now, 14 of the 32 teams have black starting quarterbacks. I mean, that's huge in comparison.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the only team in the league that has not had a black quarterback is the New York Giants. How that happens, I don't know.
Wow.
And then you've got 3 quarterbacks. You got 3 quarterbacks, black quarterbacks, who won Super Bowls: Doug Williams, Russell Wilson, and Mahomes. I mean, that's 45 years later. I mean, I think that's a tremendous feat.
No, it is. And last year, we'll touch on this a little bit, but last year was the first time that 2 black quarterbacks faced each other. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. So we're going to run one more thing, and we actually have some questions from our audience out there that they're going to ask of you, or maybe, who knows, maybe the last, Benny, why is he wearing a West Virginia hat with a turtleneck in North Carolina? I don't know. We'll come up with something. But the question was, and we talked about this too, because it's freezing. He played golf all day, Al.
45 degrees. Yeah, I played 27 today.
But one of the questions, Al, that, we talked about the prototypical size of a quarterback. Now, back in the late 60s, okay, you had a guy that and you knew who he was, and the Raiders had drafted him in 1968 with a first-round pick, and they were in the AFL at the time, named Eldridge Dickey. He was a prototypical guy, big guy, had a big arm. But who in the world did the Raiders draft with the second-round pick but Ken Stabler? And then they ended up moving Dickey to tight end, where he kind of, that's not his game. He was a quarterback. Why didn't the Raiders give him more of a shot at quarterback?
Well, you know what? That's the question, the million-dollar question, because Eldridge Dickey was a tremendous talent. The stories I heard about this guy, I mean, when you come out and you warm up, quarterbacks have, you're throwing to one side of the line of scrimmage there, you're throwing to one line of receivers. Eldridge Dickey had 2 lines because he was ambidextrous. He could throw both left and right-handed. Then he was about 6'3". He could run, but had arm talent like you wouldn't believe. And actually, I think he beat Kenny Stabler out, but because he was a black quarterback, wasn't given that opportunity, and they moved in the tight end. And things didn't work out for him. But he was a guy that I thought had all the talent. He had everything, all the attributes, everything, the straw man that they were looking for, the size, the arm talent. He could run the football as well. I mean, he could do it all. And it's just unfortunate he didn't get that opportunity. But he's one of the guys that knocked on that door to create opportunities for the guys who are playing now. And you can't take that away from him. But Eldridge Dickey, super talent. If people don't know about him, they need to do some research on this guy. This guy was off the charts.
I would think, and you can obviously answer this question, that back in that time, in the 60s, into the 70s, even into the early 80s, it was almost like if a quarterback that was black had the opportunity, it was pretty much a one-strike thing. It was like, okay, show me what you got. And if I don't see it today, you've blown your chance. I mean, they didn't have multiple chances to play with multiple teams and bounce around the league. It was like kind of a one and done situation. That's what it seemed like to me.
I think you're right, Les, and I think Ray Charles can see that too, because that's exactly what it was. If you got your opportunity, and if you had a bad day, and we all have bad days, but if you didn't show up and show out when you got that opportunity, that second chance may not come, probably wasn't going to come, and if you're going to hang around, you're going to have to play someplace else. Ken Riley was a hell of a quarterback at FAMU. He goes to camp. I mean, he's the Russell Wilson of his time. He goes to camp, and they moved him to defensive back. Now, he's always been a quarterback. He lines up. There are 15 cornerbacks. Ken Riley picked off a quick out, and he's been playing cornerback ever since. And to this day, still top 5 in interceptions. I mean, and that's back when, they only played 14 games.
And they didn't throw the ball nearly as much as they do now.
Absolutely. Right. So, I mean, when you think about the opportunities, at the short windows that we had back then, and even shorter, the big thing is just getting an opportunity. Right. And that's all we ever ask for. Just give me a shot and give me a fair shot, and let's let it play out. Let's see how it plays out.
Well, let's go. We do have some questions, so let's go for one question right now, and Joni is going to ask that question.
All right, we've got a question from Michael, and I think it was prompted by an earlier conversation you and Al were having, Les. Al, why do you think the phone call never came?
Well, you know what? I think that because of the state of the league at the time, that opportunities for black quarterbacks just weren't there. And I'm not sure. I wish I knew, because that would help me as I process. I mean, obviously I have to warm up to put my clothes on now, but I mean, back then I was ready to go and was ready based on what I had accomplished, felt like I deserved and earned an opportunity. It didn't come. Why it didn't come, I wish I knew that answer. I mean, that's $1 million question.
Thanks for the question, Michael. Let's go to a second question.
Okay. Tech for Fun asks, talent is only part of what makes a great team. What traits does a team have to win?
Did you get that, Al?
No, she needs to talk up just a little bit more for me.
Talent is only part of what makes a great team. What traits does a team have to win besides just being talented?
Well, it's a chemistry that a football team has. It's a special unit in chemistry. Every team is the direct reflection of their head coach. They take on the personality of their head coach. And it's a matter of everybody being on the same page, unity. They don't necessarily have to like each other off the field, but when you get between the lines, it's all about us and we. And we try to get it done that way. I mean, that's what it's all about in any sport. If you want to be successful, it's got to be unity. It's got to be trust, and obviously you got to have talent. But I mean, that team concept, the team unity and trust is built, and that's what drives the train to success.
Good answer.
Preparation. Victory loves preparation, and you got to have all of that. And I think that what we shared in 78 was a team, 77 and 78. We believed in what the coach was selling, and at the same time, there was a lot of trust and understanding and unity on that ball club, because I'm going to take care of this guy next to me. I'm going to do my job. And I remember being in the huddle a lot of times telling guys, now, if you're not going to get your guy, then get off the field, because I'm going down to score with or without you. And the guys understood that. And it became second tier. I mean, it was just automatic. We put that thing in automatic. And like I said, it wasn't a matter if we were going to win. It was a matter of how bad we were going to beat you.
That's confidence, and that's why you went 21-1 in those 2 years. So before we go to the third question real quick, I just want to let everyone know out there, the chat box is open, so keep them coming. Let's keep the chat coming. Let's keep the questions rolling. Before we even move forward, I want to have my crack producer, Tony, put up this really great graphic that he put together, and this is the milestones of black quarterbacks, some of the amazing milestones that have gone on through the years back in the early 70s, from the first black quarterback to play. And here it is right here. So you know a lot of these guys, obviously, Al. I mean, first quarterback to win a Super Bowl, you know, your buddy Doug Williams with the Redskins.
Absolutely.
First quarterback in a pro football game to start was Marlon Briscoe with the Bills, who actually went on and played wide receiver with the Miami Dolphins in the undefeated 72 season. You know this gentleman very well as well. I mean, you know all these guys. I think Sandy Stevens was maybe the only guy that maybe a lot of people don't know, who was the first guy to win a national championship at Division I level with the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, Sandy, I was 2 years old when Sandy did that, so I don't know him.
I wasn't born. But
I tell you what, that's a tremendous list right there, man. And when you think about their accomplishments, I mean, Marlon Briscoe, I mean, obviously Doug. I mean, my history with Doug goes back to the Black College All-Star game in '78. Of course, he was a rookie with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We played that game in New Orleans, and I hurt my knee and I couldn't play in the game. But he came by and took me. We went to McDonald's and I met his first wife. We went to a basketball game, but I was on crutches. But I mean, it's almost like family. You know, the quarterback fraternity, if you will, is strong. And I mean, we still talk even today. And even when my son was playing, he would call me and tell me about the things that he saw him do and so forth. And likewise with his son, who's now a coach with the New Orleans Saints. But Joe Gillum and Eddie Michan, Shaq Harris. I mean, when Shaq was here with the Jaguars, he and I had a chance to chat a little bit as well. So tremendous list right there, great accomplishments, and you can't beat that with a stick.
No, we've got some great comments. People are popping up the comments, so keep them coming. A quarterback that I really wanted to get your take on, because this guy was uber talented. I mean, you want to talk about a buggy whip arm, a buggy whip arm who could throw the ball 70 yards on a dime, is Joe Gillum, who played with the Steelers. And a little known fact is the first year that the Steelers won their, in 1974, when they won their initial Super Bowl, the starting quarterback in game one was not Terry Bradshaw. Jefferson Street Joe Gillum had beat out Bradshaw, and he was the starting quarterback. So we actually have more questions too. This is great. All right, we're going to keep them coming. But your take on Joe Gillum and kind of what type of quarterback he was, and unfortunately, it didn't work out in Pittsburgh, and Bradshaw went on to a Hall of Fame career. But your impressions of Joe Gillum?
Well, I tell you what, he came behind Elridge Dickey, and Joe Gillum was the gospel truth, man. I mean, this guy was he had the sweetest arm, and he threw a ball that you don't see all the time. I mean, I think Warren Moon throws the tightest spiral I've seen, but Joe Gillum could spin it, man. He could make it happen. He looked good doing it, and he had a lot of style with his play, and I think that's what I liked about him. I mean, he showcased his style. I mean, he was the guy wearing the long white socks and the white shoes, and he was the Broadway Joe, if you will, of his time. But I mean, the guy was a tremendous quarterback, and short of his indiscretions, if you will, I mean, I think he was probably amongst the best to ever do it.
All right, and I remember him in number 17. You're right. He did. He looked the part, and his arm was fantastic. And it's just unfortunate. I know they played the Raiders in that first game, and they just got crushed. And Chuck Noll decided to go another way. It just didn't work out in that game in that season. But he did back up during the season, and he's got a Super Bowl ring with the Steelers in their initial Super Bowl run. But we're going to go to one more question, and then what I'm going to do is, because we've got a bunch backed up, we'll go to a commercial break. And then we're going to come back with more questions with Al. But let me get one more question in here. And Joni, let's bring up question number 3.
All right. Listener Michael asks, do you have any resentment?
Do you have any resentment, Al, at all towards the game? Or
No, I tell you what, you know what? I think that, life is like a book. You move from one chapter to the next.
Maybe.
And my journey is the journey that was designed for me. I don't hold any resentment or grudges against anybody. Mm-hmm. What I do is I pull for the guys who are playing now. They always ask me, who's your favorite team? Well, you show me where a black quarterback is, that's my favorite team.
Wow.
And if they both are playing, I'm expecting and I'm pulling for both of them to play well. But in my heart, I'm way beyond that. I was hurt and disappointed back in the 70s when I didn't get the opportunity. But I realized quickly that, God has ordered my steps, and that just wasn't the journey for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna ride this thing out play the hand I've been dealt. I mean, that's all I can do. But I look forward to seeing young guys play and the guys who are playing now and enjoy watching them play.
Well, the biggest thing, Al, and you've talked about it earlier today in the show is all you want is an opportunity, right? You know, you just deserve the opportunity. You go in, you make the best of it. If it doesn't work out, whatever the situation is, hey, at least I got a shot, right? I just don't think it's fair if you're not giving that opportunity, right? You don't have that shot. You've got the potential, and you never had an opportunity to show it on the field. And I think that's a travesty because God knows how many players would have been back in the 70s or early 80s or 80s. Warren Moon, and he had a great career in Canada. And you saw him play in Canada. I think he won 5 Grey Cups in 6 years with the Edmonton Eskimos. But the bottom line is the guy deserved to go to the NFL. Day one. He should have been a first or second round draft pick as a quarterback. I mean, there's no debating that. And then he has to prove it, go to the NFL, and then comes back and puts up miraculous numbers with the Houston Oilers and goes to the Hall of Fame. I mean, why did he have to wait 6 years? You know, maybe that's a question we should ask Warren if we ever get him on the show. But I want to come back with more questions. If you can hang out with us for another 10 or 15 minutes.
I'm there.
Awesome. We got more questions with Al Chester. We got Benny the Book in the house. We'll be right back after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. 6 Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in and we guarantee you will be delighted.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz. Great show. Loving it so far. We got Al Chester in the house. Al Chester Sr., not Junior. Former Florida A&M quarterback. Great national championship in 1978. 1AA over UMass. And Benny the Book. And we're going to go later on in the show. Benny's going to show us his picks for the upcoming college and pro game. Benny, 2-2 last week. Not a bad week. Benny, you're still up.
Still up. I have a question for Al.
Go ahead.
I like. What do you think about Jalen Hurts? Because here was a guy that he's got the mental makeup. You know, he's committed. You know, he wants to improve his craft. He was thrown away so many, you know, like pushed aside so many times, but he had the attitude and the fortitude to just say, "Listen, I'm gonna get an opportunity. I'm gonna make the best of it." And I think he's an amazing quarterback for what he went through. I mean, sat down in the national championship game, and he didn't sit and pout. That's a problem with a lot of players. They're selfish. He's not a selfish, you know, like you said, what makes a great team? Selfishness destroys a team. If you have a bunch of players that are just worried about, like you said, we all worried about each other. You got to do your job. I think Jalen Hurts is a perfect example of that. I think he may get a Super Bowl win this year.
I tell you what, when you talk about competitor, he is the ultimate competitor. And like you said, I mean, he has some ups and downs, but he has the intestinal fortitude and the mental toughness to work through all of that. He just refused to be kept away, kept out.
Right.
I mean, he was going to be as great as he could push himself to be, and the opportunity was there for him, and he took advantage of those opportunities. He owned his passing skills. They talked about it. He couldn't throw the football as accurate as Tua in college, and then he worked on that, went to Oklahoma, lit it up over at Oklahoma, and of course, you see what he's doing in Philadelphia. He's getting a big check every Tuesday, and it's not because he's playing quarterback, it's because he's playing great quarterback. He's a great quarterback, and he's getting it done. A young guy who is he's about as tough as it comes, man. The guy played hurt the other night, and but I admire him, man, and I think you're gonna see a lot of Jalen Hurts in the days to come, years to come as well. And I agree. I think Super Bowl is right around the corner from him. He's that kind of competitor. That's the kind of drive you want. Guys like Jalen Hurts on your football team
Right.
at every position.
At every position.
How about this?
Yeah.
How about a Super Bowl winner this year and league MVP? Because right now, he's the front runner for the MVP. You're right. The guy has a first half against Buffalo. It wasn't working. You know, his passes, it wasn't connecting with his receivers. He had a statistically bad half, comes back, lights it up in the second half, makes the plays. He's a playmaker. He makes those winning plays. He might, 3 or 4 passes in a row don't look good, but guess what? When it's 3rd down and 9 and they need the pass, he completes it. He makes that run. He's so dangerous with his feet. You know, it's like you're covering these receivers forever, and the play breaks down, and he's gone, and he's tough to bring down. I'll tell you, Al and Benny, he's a big, big quarterback, and he can run, and he is not easy to take down one-on-one.
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you one of the things that I've learned about him. He is a weightlifter, man. He may be one of the strongest guys on his football team.
Mm-hmm.
I think his father is a weight trainer. He does something with weights or bodybuilding or something, but his son has picked up that trait. And the reason part of his success is because the guy's in super shape and he's tremendously country strong, man. I tell you what, he's a tremendous athlete.
Yeah, I remember seeing some clips when he was at Alabama in the weight room doing some squats. He was like squatting 600 pounds or something. Him and Derrick Henry were going at it to see who could break the record. And I'm like, for a quarterback to squat 600 plus pounds, Benny, I couldn't roll that with my car attached to it, okay? So that's pretty impressive stuff. Let's go to another question.
Okay, we've got some great dialogue going on in the chat box. So I'm going to read some questions, but I also want to read some of the comments because they're very good.
Yeah, we're going to read some comments. Joni, if you could just speak up a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
That's my fault. It's
You
never
can't
your
hear
fault.
me?
Come on.
All right. Gary asks, you have a great career background, Al. How did your background as a football player help shape your career?
Well, I tell you what, it's interesting that you should say that because I was always taught that football is the game of life. You know, you get knocked down, you have successes, you're going to lose. You got to learn how to work through all of that. In my second career, I was a federal agent with NCIS, and I did that for 22, 23 years, and had a chance to travel around the world and see the world and go places that I never would have under normal circumstances. And to that, I'm grateful for that. But I think that football allowed me, gave me the opportunity from a mindset standpoint to be able to work and adjust and check off, if you will, at the line of scrimmage when I got in situations where I was uncomfortable. I mean, and it's something that's just been a part of me from being organized, being taking care of business. I mean, the whole piece, the full gamut of what's expected of a football player, especially at quarterback, being prepared and preparing for the next opponent. I mean, that's how life is. I mean, I'm probably a little anal right now because I always think about what I've got to do the rest of this week. I mean, how's my day going to be tomorrow? And I haven't even got through today. But I mean, that's what life is all about. And I think that football is the game of life, and it teaches you all of those things, especially when it comes to winning and losing, bouncing back, getting hit, got to get back up, you know, and being able to be successful and then be able to share that with others.
Perseverance.
Absolutely.
Great question, Gary. And I know before we ask some more questions, Joni, I know there's some really good comments that I'm catching out of the corner of my eye. There's been some great comments. Maybe you can read a few of those?
Yes, I would love to. Tech for Fun says, NFL is a business, and I wonder how many conversations happened in boardrooms saying, will America like a black quarterback? Let's not risk it. Basically, inherent racism.
You know something? That's a great comment. And I think, you know something, Al, if I'm going to be honest, I would guarantee those conversations took place. There's no doubt in my mind they did. And they just try to cover them up, obviously, because no one wants to come out. And you see what happened with John Gruden, you know, where behind the scenes, he was sending emails or something like that, and it got caught up and it went public, and he said some things that were not politically correct, and it cost him his job. I would think that in the past, there was definitely conversations in the GMs and in people who own the Redskins. Look how long it took to integrate the Redskins.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what? If you look at the NFL is just a small microcosm of society.
Mhm.
I mean, you can probably look in every element of society and you have some of the same kind of things going on, whether it's corporate America, whether it's professional sports, whether it's education, whether it's politics. I mean, it's the same kind of stuff goes on.
Mhm.
Is it right? Is it fair? Will it ever be right? Will it ever be fair? I don't know. I don't think it will be. What you have to do is you got to persevere. You got to work through it and find a way to win. And that's what I was always taught. Find a way to win in spite of, and just dig in. I mean, you know, you feel like you've earned the opportunity and you deserve the shot,
Mhm.
but sometimes it doesn't happen. So you can't tuck your tail and disappear. What you got to do is you got to redirect that energy and find something else to do and go win.
Well, in the short time that I've known you, there's one word that I believe exemplifies you, and that is a winner on the field as well as off the field. So,
Well, thank you, sir.
great comment there. Joni, how about another question?
Another question. Great.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming,
Yes.
folks.
Yes. Gary asks, looking back at your football and work career, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Ooh,
To my 20-year-old self,
yeah, that's a good one.
well, you know what? Again, put God first in everything that you do, and continue to work hard. Just work hard, and I think that when you work hard, victory loves preparation. I think that you'll get where you need to be. Sometimes where you want to be is not where God wants you to be, and I think that's the key. And be humble and respectful, and keep things in the middle of the road, and things will happen. I think that what's for you, you're gonna get. Can't nobody take it away from you. And once you get it, like we're talking about this national championship, can't nobody take it away from us. They don't have to give us any love, but they can't take it away from us.
That's true.
So I guess, and again, I say, if I had to do it all again, I mean, in spite of knowing what I know now, if I had to do it all again, I'd do it the same way. I mean, it was challenging, and my son followed in my footsteps. I think that's the ultimate compliment when your kid follows you. And he had some opportunities. He went to Stanford to visit. He went to Air Force. He went to Vanderbilt. And I still say he was a better quarterback than me. But I mean, he had opportunities to go. But he wanted to be a pharmacist. What better place to go be a pharmacist than FAMU? And then my wife was Miss FAMU. And I think that's where all our money was going anyway. So he was going to go to FAMU anyway. But you cut us, we bleed orange and green, man. And I think that all three of us would say it. If we had to do it all over again, we'd do it the same way.
That's outstanding. It's got to be cool to have your son follow in your footsteps, quarterback the team that you quarterbacked. I mean, and then you get to watch him and his career develop. That's got to be, like you said, that's the ultimate high. That's an unbelievable thing. How about another? No, there was a comment that I saw, and I think it might have been from one of your ex-teammates.
Yes. I want to read that one.
I want Joni to read this. This is from one of your ex-teammates.
Mark Orlando.
Mark Orlando.
He says, was in my first year coaching in 1978 as the RB coach at FAMU. I was a former quarterback at FSU. Albert had all the tools to be a next-level NFL quarterback. Unfortunately, we were not a passing offense.
Oh, all right. There you go.
And that's a fact. That's a fact. And Mark was the first year, he was the running back coach on that national championship team. And he convinced Coach Hubbard to be a passing team after I left. But we could throw the football, but we were Coach Hubbard was a Woody Hayes guy. So, I mean, we were going to do it Woody's way, and it was going to be Rudy's way. And we had success doing that. I mean, he was comfortable with that. We bought into it. I never gave him a hard time about not throwing the ball. We played teams like Tennessee State and some other teams where we had to throw the football a little bit. But, I mean, I didn't throw but for 1,000 yards tops during the entire season. But we had two running backs who had 1,000 yards, and I had 700-800 yards. But whatever it took to win, that's what we were doing.
Right.
And so I don't know if I was penalized because we didn't throw the football. I didn't showcase that. I'm not sure, but Again, I would do it the same way because we won the national
won.
championship. And Mark is absolutely correct.
You won. Well, and Benny and I were doing the research last night a little bit, and we were looking at Rudy Hubbard and his record. And I did not realize that he played for Woody Hayes for 3 years at Ohio State, and he was a coach at Ohio State. So,
Yes.
well, he learned from Woody, which is what, three yards in a cloud of dust, right?
3 yards in a cloud of dust. Yeah.
So,
And how about this? Coach Hubbard was the first black coach on Woody Hayes' staff.
we did not know that.
Yes.
Okay, there you
And
go.
he recruited Woody Archie Griffin.
Wow.
Well, here's another one. Here's another black quarterback that was very successful at Ohio State, Cornelius Green, that did not play in the NFL. I remember Corny Green, number 7. Did he play in the CFL at all?
I don't remember him if he did or not, but Cornelius Green, I watched all his film because we ran the same offense they ran. He was a few years ahead of me, and Coach Hubbard brought the footage, and I studied how Cornelius ran the offense, and that's the way I ran it.
He was a great
because he ran it to the T. I mean, he was an exciting quarterback too. He could run it, he could throw it. He had good size on him. He had a great arm. Again, because of the offense we ran, he may have been penalized and didn't get that opportunity. I'm not sure what happened to him after he left Ohio State in terms of playing pro football.
And there was another kid who played at Michigan by the name of Dennis Franklin, who was an Ohio kid that went to Michigan. It was a pretty fair passer, and Schembechler actually let him throw the ball a little bit more than Woody. But how about we get some more questions?
We do. Yes.
Al, you're lighting it up tonight.
He is. Oh, we're getting lots of positive
getting lots of questions and comments. This is great.
About Al. Yes. They're loving it. Life with Kyla. She asks, what are your thoughts on Jeremy Musa? Do you think he should get a shot to the next level?
Ooh.
Jeremy Musa is the undisputed leader of the Florida A&M football team. These guys are 2 games away from tying our 12-1 record in '78. Jeremy Musa can make all the throws. He's cerebral as all get out. He can make every throw. In fact, he was throwing for one of the receivers who's on the practice squad with the Rams right now last year because they didn't have a quarterback, and the scouts were oohing and ahhing about this guy with all his arm talent. So absolutely, yes, and I hope he does. I mean, but I'm hoping he's going to be able to light this thing up on Saturday, take care of Prairie View. We go to Atlanta and we take care of Howard and win the national championship. But absolutely, he's got all the skills. He's a big kid, quiet kid, but I tell you what, he's the undisputed leader, and he has all the tools to make it to the next level.
So you got Prairie View A&M this weekend. Is the game on ESPN? Is it nationally is it televised at all that we can check it out?
It is. It's going to be on ESPNU, I believe.
We'll be checking that out.
One of the ESPN channels, for sure.
And then the winner.
4:00 kickoff on Saturday.
And then the winner takes the SWAC title and, like you said, goes on to the Celebration Bowl to play Howard for a spot for the Black National Championship. So
absolutely. That game will be played in Atlanta. And I can say this about Musa because I do the color commentating. I'm on the broadcast team for FAMU. Been doing it for several years now, and I watched this kid the last 2 years and watch his maturation process, and I like what I see. And I mean, he was the preseason offensive player selection for Offensive Player of the Year, and of course, he actually won that on yesterday, along with Coach Simmons as head coach as the Coach of the Year, and then Isaiah Major is the Defensive Player of the Year, and we had like 13 kids to make first and second team. So they got a great football team, man. I think Coach Simmons is doing a tremendous job. I hope we can keep them around a little while.
And people are wondering why if Florida A&M is in the SWAC championship, you just about said it right there. Before we move on to another question, I know Tony's going to put up some graphics. Now, this is interesting. This is the top 10. This was a list that was made up. I think I got it out of Ebony Magazine, but it was the top 10 HBCU players of all time, not necessarily quarterbacks, but HBCU players that transitioned from the college game to the NFL in their success from college, in both college and in the pro game. So I want to kind of get your take on some of these guys. Amazing graphics. Again, I don't know how Tony dug this up at the last minute, but outdid himself with this. But maybe go down the line, talk about a few of these guys that I know you know a lot of these guys personally.
Hey, I tell you what, Jerry Rice, I mean, I don't have to say anything about him. The greatest receiver to ever play the game. Walter Payton played at Jackson State. His brother, Eddie, played with me up in Toronto. Tremendous football player. Don't have to say anything about him. Deacon Jones, I mean, he was been given credit for that hand slap, but I think you're talking about a terror on the defensive line. Art Shell, one of the best offensive linemen to ever play the game. Jackie Slater and I played in a celebrity golf tournament back when several years ago. Willie Lanier, I mean, he's the first black middle linebacker to play the game. I talked about Ken Riley. Ken Riley is the epitome of talent and class. I mean, we just named the field after Ken Riley at Florida A&M. I tell you what, he's a tremendous guy. I'm just so sorry he wasn't here to see his induction. Mel Blount, I mean, his son played at Florida A&M, but you're talking about one of the best cornerbacks to ever play the game. Steve McNair, man, I tell you what, the gospel truth. Big guy, big arm, and super talent. And, of course, Doug's a friend of mine. He can get it done. We already know first quarterback to win the Super Bowl. And I tell you what, he probably would have done it a lot earlier had Tampa Bay decided to give him that money while he was down at Tampa Bay.
Outstanding list. I love the list too. And there were so many, I mean, in just doing the research for this show, Al, there's so many amazing black athletes coming out of HBCU schools that Hall of Famers, I think 37 total Hall of Famers. I mean, the list is crazy. The one thing I do want to go, and I know we have more questions. I know people are jumping out of their seats here to get questions. We're going to do that. But I looked at from the common draft era, which was 1969-70 when the AFL and NFL merged, all the way through last year. You look, the most HBCU school players drafted were about 69 and 68 back in 1969 and 70. That's how many players are drafted. 69 in one year, 68. But it's really dwindled down to the past, like the last 9 years, a total of maybe 13 players were picked. Last year, just one. Now, I definitely think that the draft going from 17 rounds to then 12 when when you were senior at Florida A&M, and now there's only 7, so obviously limits the number of players. But back then, what people have to understand, and you can talk to this, in the late 60s, early to mid 70s, a lot of these schools were just beginning integration, especially in the SEC and in the Southwest Conference, which is not even a conference anymore, but it's where Texas, Arkansas, and A&M played. So if you wanted to stay in the South and you were a black, not just quarterback, but a black football player, you had to go play at Michigan State, Ohio State, maybe USC, go out west, like Jimmy Jones, quarterback, the Trojans. The famous story about him coming in with Sam Cunningham and playing Alabama and beating them 42-21. And, I guess, what's the quote? One of these quotes is, Sam Cunningham did more for integration than Martin Luther King did because of what he did. I mean, that's one of these quotes that came out. What was it like? I mean, you basically really had to go to another place if you had grown up in that time. Am I correct?
No, you're right on point. During that window, though, there weren't many players playing at the predominantly white schools. So that's why Grambling, Florida A&M, Morgan, and some of the black schools had more guys drafted than anybody, to include Notre Dame and Southern Cal, because all the great athletes were at the black schools. Now, it's spread out. You got integration came in. Now, today, you got the NIL. You got so many other factors that play a role in that. And so that's why it's dwindled down the way it has. I mean, we still have talented kids who play black college football who are deserving of opportunities. I mean, the kids we talked about, Marquise Lee, who's playing with the Dallas Cowboys right now, and other guys who played it for them. These guys have earned that opportunity. I mean, so, hopefully the league will find these kids and give them opportunities, draft these kids. They've earned that. That draft it's an ego thing, because once you get there, plus it means it's a little change in your pocket as well. But I mean, these kids deserve that opportunity. But back then, I mean, you didn't have that many guys who were at the predominantly white schools, so you didn't have all the black players were coming from the Gramblings and the Florida A&Ms and the Prairie Views and Texas Southern, where Kenny Burroughs and those guys came from Southern University. You saw all that back then.
It would have been interesting to see if Deion Sanders had stayed at Jackson State, because there's no doubt in my mind that his son is going to be drafted in the first round when he's draft eligible. He's got all the, I mean, I want you to talk about maybe his measurables. He's got the size, he's got the quick release. He's not a runner. He'll scramble. He reminds me a little bit of Jameis Winston. He's got a little Jameis Winston when he was at FSU in his game. And Travis Hunter, who Benny loves because he plays 132 snaps a game. If they stayed at Jackson State, there's no doubt in my mind they're drafted in the NFL next year.
Well, I tell you what, Shadua, I watched his maturation process too. I saw him play as a freshman, and I saw him play in high school actually, and then saw him play against FAMU as a freshman, and then watching him the last couple of years, man. I mean, he actually has matured into the position. He can extend the play, and he can pull it down and get 10 yards as a fresh set of downs. I mean, that's all you really want.
Right.
You don't need somebody to take it to the house, but I mean, he can extend the play. He has the arm talent and obviously the aptitude and attitude to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
He's had some exposure with Tom Brady and some other quarterback coaches, and you can see that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if they don't find people to block up front, because it all starts up front. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. You know, I mean, that's where it all starts on both sides of the ball. You got to have people up front to protect your quarterback, open the lanes for your running backs, and you got to have guys on defensive line to push the pocket. But you're right, Deion's done a tremendous job. Did a tremendous job at Jackson State. Added some zip to Jackson State's football program, and he had a positive light on black college football prior to going to Colorado.
Yeah, I was going to say, I totally agree with you 100%. If he doesn't get the line straightened out, it doesn't matter how good he is. He's not going to get the time. And I think Deion, and Benny and I talk about this all the time, he's going to hit the transfer portal hard. I mean, he's going on the recruiting trail. He's got the skill position players. But if you don't have anybody that can protect, run block, and get to the opposing passer, you're not going to be successful ultimately, especially playing, the teams in the Big 12. It's run and gun. So, and that's where they go next year. A couple more questions I think we got.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I have a comment myself.
Oh, Joni has a comment.
I do. Interesting fact. When you threw up the top 10, I saw Jerry Rice was on there. He was the first NFL star to appear on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh.
Season 2, and he came in second.
Okay, well, yes. Joni's a big Dancing with the Stars personnel, so evidently he can also, he's got a little bit of dancing rhythm in him, and not just a football player, he knows how to dance. I do remember that, and then I think Emmett Smith did pretty good too.
Oh, yeah, Emmett Smith won, yes.
All right, we got any more questions?
All right. So a couple of people had a question about the buggy whip arm. What is that?
Okay, Al, explain what the buggy whip arm is.
The what now?
The buggy whip arm. You know that buggy whip motion? Or did I make that up?
You might have made that up, Les.
To me, I'd heard that expression. It's kind of like a long release, like Lamar Jackson. He's got that. I call it the buggy whip arm. It's kind of long, and he just kind of flings it like that. That's the way I was always. It had been interpreted to me. So,
well, I tell you what, I think all the guys who play the position have their own style about releasing the ball, throwing the football. Now, they always teach you a certain way. They did back in the day about how you should throw the football, how you should release. But I tell you what, these guys now, when you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes who throws it just about underhanded, nobody can say anything. I mean, once upon a time, the quarterback had the ball up high by his ear. Yeah. That went away when Peyton Manning had it down chest high. I mean, so the style of what is expected is based on the success of the guy who's getting it done in the National Football League. So I mean, when Mahomes is doing it now, I almost want to say that I don't want to teach young kids to do it like Mahomes, but I tell you what, he's winning with it, and you see other guys emulating him doing that because the kids in college right now is doing the same thing. But Lamar Jackson has a whip for a gun. I mean, he can take the ball to the house anytime he wants to. You got Russell Wilson, who's a mechanic. He's real. What's the word I'm looking for? He gets it done in terms of getting the ball down the field. But whatever it takes to get the ball down. I mean, I tell you who, Aaron Rodgers. He's another one that throws it all kind of different ways. So, I mean, what are you going to say to these young kids? I mean, if you make the connection, throw the football, get it in the gap where it needs to be, and hopefully the receiver will catch it and you have success.
Al, I just have to say, the comments are like rolling across the screen as we talk. You might have got the biggest compliment I've seen. You know what it said? Al Chester for president. Hey, I'm voting you in.
Hey, man, I tell you what, I really enjoyed this lesson. I tell you what, it's timely because, like I said, 45 years ago, we won the national championship. And I want to salute my team and the coaches, Coach Hubbard, and publicly thank them and all my teammates. I agree with you. I think that our team has earned the deserve to be saluted by the HBCU and by anybody else, because what we accomplished can never be repeated. And it's probably not going to ever have another HBCU to win that Division I AA, which is now the FBS conference now.
Yeah.
That probably won't ever happen again. So what we did, can nobody take it away. And I'm proud that I was given the opportunity to be the quarterback, and we had the success that we did.
Well, before we let you go, do we have any more questions for Al?
There is one more question.
There's one more question, Al, before we let you go. Let's hear it.
From Life with Kyla. Tell us about your right guard, Tyrone McGriff.
Oh, Tyrone McGriff.
Oh, my right. Hey, Tyrone McGriff was the best that ever did it, man. I tell you what, he's from Gifford, Florida. He was our right guard. He passed away several years ago, but had a chance to coach. After he left the Pittsburgh Steelers, he played with the Michigan Panthers in the USFL. He coached over with Doug Williams over at Grambling and a couple other places. But I tell you what's ironic about Tyrone. You talking about a guy who was probably his shoulders about as wide as a Volkswagen. He was about as he could slam a basketball.
Wow.
He could run your 4.7 40 at 265, and smart guy, strong as a bull, and a gentle giant. And I tell you what a tremendous football player. He was a 3-time All-American, and he was the last player drafted the year he came out, which was 79, I believe, and he got that Lozman trophy, if you will. But he went to the Steelers and jumped right in there, man, and played right away. And I tell you what, his son and my son got a chance to play together at Florida A&M. We had a lot of legacy kids that end up playing together. And his son is doing some great things in Tallahassee. He's coaching over at Leon High School. His daughter is also in the school system. She's a track coach, man. Great family. And I tell you what a talent he was.
Well, I got to tell you, this has been a treat for me. You are one incredibly impressive person.
You are,
like
Al.
I said,
Very.
Benny, we got to have Al back. We've got to have him back to talk about.
Everybody should have his attitude about life.
I agree.
The world would be a lot better place. I'll tell you.
I couldn't have said it better.
He's got a lot of great ideas, and his thoughts on life are right on. They're right on spot.
Well, I thank you guys for giving me the opportunity, man. It's been a great day, man.
Well,
and
listen, I'm glad we got to hook up. I'm thankful for Vince for getting us together. Again, I would really love to have you come on at a later date and talk college football playoffs with us, because I think you'd be the perfect guy to do it, especially, examining the quarterback play. And I wish you and the Rattlers all the success this week. Go Florida A&M.
Go Rattlers.
Prairie View A&M. Go to the Celebration Bowl and take it home. So, Al, I want to thank you so very much. It's been a privilege and an honor, and I look forward to having you on again soon.
Call me, Les. You guys take care. Be safe.
All right, Al. Take care. Have a great week. We'll be right back with more and Benny the Book's picks after this.
Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop, located at 4212 Oleander Drive, Wilmington's #1 firearms dealer. Sporting a large inventory, including all brands of handguns and long guns, a full stock of accessories, and all types of ammunition, Jim's Pawn and Gun Shop has it all, including the best customer service in the area.
Before the lights go out, call Wilmington Generators. We offer the lowest price and a 10-year warranty for all Briggs & Stratton installations. A Briggs & Stratton powers more of your home for less money. Call for a free quote. Wilmington Generators. We play with power.
What happened?
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. Well, we had, again, this is what happens with live TV. Sometimes the commercials run smoothly, and sometimes you get me as the commercial. So, again, special thanks to Al. He was great, just amazing. Let's bring in Benny and just kind of rehash a little bit of this. What an impressive person, Benny.
Impressive person. He really was.
I love his stories. I mean, it was awesome.
He's accomplished. He has such a great outlook on life. He was a guy that he probably should have got a shot. I'm sure he was hurt, but that didn't let him. He became a successful individual in life, and he's he's got all the right views. He really does.
The funny thing
would
is,
vote-
I actually
would
really
vote
do
for-
remember.
I would vote for him for president.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we should.
Couldn't hurt. Couldn't
No,
hurt.
it couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt.
Couldn't hurt.
Okay, that's so we got three. We got three for Al for president. But before I even go to the picks, and I do want to say this, and I know he touched on it briefly, and I want to talk about it. That it's a travesty that the Florida A&M football team in 1978, Al is the quarterback and the coach Rudy Hubbard are not enshrined in the Black Football Hall of Fame. They're not. And
Yeah.
I think
Probably-
that
it's
they
probably
deserve
the greatest accomplishment in HBS.
it is. It's the
know.
best team accomplishment in HBCU history. The first black school to win a national championship on the field. And it was 45 years ago, as Al said, and it's never been done since. And the way the setup is with the FCS and the HBCU schools contractually obligated to play each other in the Celebration Bowl and things, it probably won't happen again either. So just a shout out to the Black College Football Hall of Fame, whoever's running that. I think it's right. I think it's due time. Put in Florida A&M, put in Al Chester as the quarterback, and put in legendary coach Rudy Hubbard. All right, I'm done with that now. I'm not going to speak upon that, but listen to me. That's what should be done. Now, Ben, we got big week coming up. We got a lot of college football. We've got the championship games coming up. It's a huge week. CFP playoff implications. We'll talk about that, but let's go to your picks. I know you're taking 3 games this week.
Yeah,
So
took 3 games into college.
Yeah.
because there aren't that many games there, and I just didn't want to pick games. So my first game, I got Liberty
okay,
minus the 10 versus New
Flames.
Mexico State.
the Flames
12-0, 11-0, Liberty.
11-0 with Jamie Chadwell, who was the former coach of Coastal Carolina. In his first year, he goes undefeated.
Yeah. So I got a good feeling about Liberty. I think they'll put plenty of points up on the board. My next pick, I went with against my better judgment because I personally think Georgia is the best team in college football.
Do you really?
But I do.
Okay.
Al said it best, man. We've talked to him before. They're the kings. Till you knock the king off the throne. I
Gotcha.
mean, all year everybody's been saying, they don't look good. They don't look good. And they just keep winning. They keep winning.
True.
They had a new quarterback. The guy has gotten better and better and better every game. They got a great running game. They got a great defense. I mean, how he keeps this defense, because every year they lose 8 guys to the NFL, and then they bring in these other guys that are just as good.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the Alabama game last week. They should have lost last week, but
they should have lost last week. Bob Harris, Bob was at the game.
Oh God,
I can't even imagine. He was probably ready for the victory cigar, and boom, last play of the game.
That was but the last 45 seconds of the game were ridiculous. I mean, it was unbelievable what went on. But I'm gonna take Alabama plus
You're going
the
to take
points.
the Tide.
I know they didn't play up until last week. They were improving week after week after week after week. Their quarterback has gotten so much better from the beginning of the year. They have to. Even if they win, they're probably not going to get into the.
I think it depends on what
Final
happens.
Four.
If Texas wins out and wins the Big 12, they've got that big win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa early by double digits when Milroe was the quarterback. So you can't. And is my biggest beef about that, Benny. And I was almost wanted to talk about it with Al. People say, well, but that was the beginning of the season. It really shouldn't count. And I'm sitting there going, wait a second. They should get credit for playing on the road early and winning that game.
That's
What
right.
you're basically saying is if that game doesn't count, why would anybody want to schedule a tough game at the beginning of the year? If it's not going to count, then why even play a game like that, right? So
Why
I
do you
believe
think
if they have
Ohio
the same
State was
record,
ranked so high?
Yeah,
Because they went to Notre Dame.
Well, exactly, but Texas has got to go instead of Alabama if they both are tied.
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
of course.
All right, so you
That's
like
what's gonna make
Bama, getting 6 points against Georgia, and then the final. The Oklahoma State Cowboys pulled out a triple overtime against BYU to get into this thing, and they're 14-point underdogs to the Longhorns.
14.5 points.
And you like Texas.
No, I like Oklahoma State.
Oh, you like
plus the
Oklahoma
14
State to
14
cover.
and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, look, right on Benny's pick, Oklahoma State.
I wasn't looking. I'm mesmerized by your whole outfit here with the West Virginia thing and the
I
turtleneck.
got to tell you, if they didn't lose that game to Houston on that Hail Mary ridiculous play, they might have been playing for the Big 12 championship.
Possibly. So you got Liberty and the giving 10. You got Alabama getting 6
Plus,
and Oklahoma State getting 14. So
14 and a half.
now,
14 and a
real
half.
quick
That's
before we go to the
important
pros.
half
I just want to get your picks real quick. These are the Power 5 games this weekend, championship games, and they're massive. 3 of these games are insane. Oregon is playing the undefeated and third-ranked Washington Huskies. By the way, Tony, if we can we get a shout out? Can we get a little solo here on the helmet here? Everybody, University of Washington football helmet representing the Huskies against Oregon this week. Got this amazing helmet, On-Field Productions. Tony will be nice enough during the show to run a little thing there. Look at this. He's on top of his game today. These guys are unbelievable. Authentic helmet. This is actually wore it around the house last night. Can't believe how heavy that thing is, and these guys actually run around playing in this thing, but outstanding. So if you want to check that out, On-Field Productions, outstanding. They've got every college, every pro. They even have USFL, and they've got CFL helmets, so pretty amazing there. So you got Oregon, 9-point favorites over a team they lost to, and it's undefeated.
Who do you think is going to win the game?
I think the Ducks are going to quack their way to a big victory.
Yep. They're gonna. That's a bookie's. It's just, here's a team that's undefeated. They beat this team, and now they're getting 9-point underdogs to the team.
It's crazy.
They're telling you who the better team is.
Well, there's no doubt about it.
They may not cover the 9 points, but Oregon is going to win the game.
I think Oregon wins by 17.
Yeah.
We already got Texas. I know I already told you James Madison, and they lost, so don't listen to me. Michigan, 23.5-point favorites over Iowa. There's one word that comes to Iowa's offense, and someone in this room is going to laugh. It's drab.
Yeah.
That's what their offense is. It's drab. They don't have an offense.
Their game plan is to play defense. They have one of the best punters in the country. He puts them the guys near their goal line, and their defense scores. That's their offense.
Well, I'm just going to say it right now. If Michigan doesn't win this game by at least minimum of 21 points, they ought to open up an investigation. But Florida State, 2.5 over Louisville. Now, Florida State's got a great team, but obviously Jordan Travis, their Heisman hopeful quarterback, knocked out 2 games ago. They go with this kid Rodemaker. I saw him play. I mean, he's gaining a little footage, but he was quite shaky. Didn't make a lot of throws against Florida. They won that game because they ran the ball and played good defense. But do you think they have enough to get by Louisville?
I think that I would go with Louisville in this game, even though Louisville lost last week. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I thought Notre Dame was going to be right there in the Final Four, and they went to Louisville, and Louisville trounced.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I have a feeling it was the schedule Notre Dame had, playing week after week after teams that were undefeated, and they played I think 6 games in a row against top 15 teams.
Yeah. Tough schedule. I think Louisville was up for that game, Benny.
Yeah.
You said, I just think the schedule, just wore Notre Dame down this year.
Yeah.
So you like Florida State, and we already know, Georgia, Bama. I know you're taking Bama and the points, but you think Georgia wins the game?
Yeah, I think Georgia wins the game.
Real quick before we go to your pro picks, it looks like it's a 2-person race for the Heisman. I think Caleb Williams is definitely out. I think Marvin Harrison Jr., that Ohio State lost, is probably out. It looks like there we go, Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Jaden did his best last week, played against Texas A&M, which had the 10th best defense in the country. He didn't put up prolific passing numbers, but he still threw for over 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, and ran for $120. So he
Yeah.
put up almost 350 total yards and 4 touchdowns against A&M. Bo Nix, a great game against Oregon State. If he has a monster game in the Pac-12 championship against an undefeated Huskies, does that push Bo Nix to the top, and does he win the Heisman?
I think it's Jalen is going to win the Heisman. I don't think Bo Nix, because Oregon has a great running game.
Mhm.
And in order to dominate, they probably will have to. They're going to try to run the ball, control the ball, and they had a very good defense.
Mhm.
So that's what they're going to try to do. I don't know if they want to go throwing the ball against Washington and giving Washington more opportunities. They want to keep the ball away from Washington as much as possible.
So
They
you like Jaden
dominated.
Daniels, though, to win the Heisman?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say right now, Benny,
Without
I'm
a
just
doubt.
telling you,
The
right
guy's
now,
numbers are unbelievable.
right now,
It's
if I'm picking right now, the best team in college football, the last 5 weeks, I'm sorry, it's the Oregon Ducks. Well, let's go to the pros, and let's look at the NFL. Last week you went 2-2. You're still up this year. A crazy, crazy week. I mean, the Minnesota-Chicago game pretty much put me to sleep. I was in bed by 9:20 at that game. So let's look at your picks this week.
All right. This week, I'm going with the Jets +3 against the Falcons.
Okay.
If I'm not, I think the game is at New York.
Are they expecting Joe Namath to come out of retirement for this game?
No, but the kid, they put the kid in finally, the new quarterback. He had a week to play. The Jet defense is gonna stifle the Atlanta Falcon offense.
Okay.
So they don't have to score many points. But I think he'll be a week under his belt. He'll be better this week. I take the Jets with the 3.5.
All right,
points.
Jets 3.5. Okay, let's go to
Great.
game number 2.
The next game I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Washington Commanders.
Okay,
plus
you
the
call them
9.5.
the Commanders. I'm still going to call them the Redskins, but go ahead.
Well, they got the. I just saw on TV that the one of the Indian organizations wants them to rename them the Redskins again.
Well,
'Cause
and
they
they
had
should
a-
be politically correct and rename them the Redskins.
Yeah, and that's that. But I'm going to take them plus the 9.5.
Really? You think they're going to you think they're going to keep it close against the Dolphins?
Sam Howell, he will move the ball.
Okay.
He'll put up points. They have some very good receivers. They could score.
Okay.
I just got a feeling that game's going to be close.
All right, so you like Washington Commanders and the
Plus
points
the
against the
9.5.
Miami Dolphins. Okay, what's up next?
We're going to go with the Green Bay Packers plus the 6.5 versus Kansas City. Probably be 6 feet of snow. It'll be,
Wow.
KC's coming off they played on the road. They're going back on the road. KC will probably win the game, but I have a feeling Green Bay's back in the mix now. I think they were 1-3 or 1-4, and now they're like 5-6. They're right in the wild. I think they are in the wild card position.
But you really think they're going to keep it? Listen, they could be a blizzard there. I think Mahomes throws for like 350 and 5 touchdowns in this game.
He won't throw for 350. Not in a
Okay.
blizzard.
All right.
Not in a blizzard. And
I've been known to be wrong. Okay,
yes,
and
you
who do you
have.
got next?
I swore I would never take these guys again, but I'm taking the Jacksonville Jaguars minus the 8 against Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's got hurt.
Well,
Goodbye,
Jake Browning's
Cincinnati.
not going to scare you a quarterback.
No, goodbye. They've
know.
looked horrible the last 2 weeks. The Jaguars are playing very well. Like I predicted at the beginning of the year, they would win their division, and I just hope they don't let me down. They've
right.
done a pretty bad. I've got a lot of my losses when I've taken them.
All right, so I'm looking at the screen here. We got the Jets, you got the Washington Commanders, the Green Bay Packers, and you are going one more time with Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let's hope for a nice 4-0 week.
Well, let's
this
hope
week.
for a nice 4-0 week. Yeah, Benny, you're up. Like I said, you're up in college, you're up in the pros. So
Yeah.
as long as you're not losing, you're winning.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on and being part of the whole show. I thought it was great. Really had a great time with everybody there.
Excellent.
So, but we'll
A
see.
lot of great comments and
Absolutely.
a lot of great
And I want to
questions.
thank everybody out there for those comments. Outstanding comments out there, outstanding questions out there, great interaction with our fans this week. And like I said, Al was a tremendous guest, and we definitely want to have him back to talk about the college football playoffs. I know this Sunday, after the conference championships, they're going to get in their room and they're going to pick the 4 teams. So we'll come up with a special show just for that. But I will see you on the golf course Sunday if we're not frozen to death or we get rained out.
No, 70 degrees.
70 degrees. Let's hope for no rain.
Saturday, Sunday, it's going up 70 degrees.
I'll take that, and you'll take my money. So thanks again for the picks. Good luck this week.
And Tony, great job on all the
graphics
things you do, all the graphics.
Tony's the man.
Really
He's the glue
excellent.
that keeps the show together. But listen, we'll see the games. We'll hope you do well this week. We thank you, and we'll be right back with the wrap after this message.
High Tide Chiropractic, located in Leland, North Carolina, off Village Road. Dr. Levi Bradburn and his team specialize not only on spinal and extremities care, but also focus on sports injuries and a variety of chronic ailments. Treatment plans may include diet and lifestyle behavioral modification to achieve optimal health. Call us to schedule your free consultation, and we will design a personalized program to meet your needs. It's time to get the results you deserve.
Welcome back to Swartz Talkin Sports. I'm Les Swartz. Again, outstanding show today. I got so many people to thank. First of all the people out there that have watched the show and contribute to the show and continue to support the show. I want to thank you all very, very much for the many comments, the great questions out there. Really, kudos. You guys did it tonight. You made the show successful. Again, special thanks to Al Chester. Outstanding job. We wish Florida A&M well this week against Prairie View A&M. Again, Benny, outstanding in his picks. He continues to raise the bar, so let's hope he goes 4-0 in the pros and 3-0 in college. And again, Tony will be running a link in the comment section for Best Sports Movie. We're going to be running this up until mid-December. I'll come up with a date. We've got a special show. I'm not going to tease anybody with it yet. We'll be doing it in little drips and drabs in the next couple of shows, but we've got a biggie plan for the end of the year, and everyone out there is going to love it. So please vote on Best Sports Movie. We're down to our final 4. Again, special thanks, Al Chester. Special thanks, Benny, for coming on for the entire show. Joni, the chat girl, and my producer, Tony. Thank you so much. This is Les Swartz, Swartz Talkin Sports. Have a great week, everybody.